Hey traders, this is Cousin Vinny coming to you on March the 23rd, Sunday, with a watch list and a look at the week ahead. These are some of the things that we're looking at this week. Note what we're looking for in terms of setups in the financial sectors, and from a bearish standpoint we're looking at setups in IBB and XBI, the biotech sector, which pointed out in our video last week. Price is moving sideways above those December and January highs, and the only indicator that's bullish per se is volatility. The rest are either cautionary or red in terms of valuations and macro. The sectors we're looking at: BKX, KRE, the banking sector at 52-week highs, showing strength last week, and the REIT index. We're watching the rotation into XLF, SMH, XLB, and out of the biotech healthcare sectors. DBV is range bound, and the Fed continues its taper mode. Let's go through the indices quickly. The comp, we're moving sideways above the January peak, the range here, and the 382 Fibonacci levels. Gold, an outside day or engulfing candle on the weekly chart below the 382 retracement we pointed out last week. After this double bounce that we saw at the end of 2013, a chart of the industrials, the pivots that we drew in last Sunday. We bounced off the 382 and back up to this descending trend line of lower highs. Note the increased volume down here, notable as a distribution day out of those sectors that we mentioned earlier. MACD looks like it's turning up, so we'll keep an eye on that. New York Stock Exchange Composite Index, the same thing, distribution day on Friday, in a sideways range above those recent all-time highs. Note the high-low indicator, moving sideways as well. The Russell, note this is moving sideways, faring somewhat better than the other indices. As Ukarwitz pointed out on his blog, fund managers are overweight in the Russell sector, so keep an eye on that. And the S&P 500, which we're right above this large Kirby shelf area, moving sideways above previous 52-week highs that were range bound above and holding. Note the distribution day on Friday as well. MACD is drifting higher to sideways, and the VIX hasn't yet spiked up into a buy zone. Ukarwitz mentioned that he's watching this VIX tendency to bounce twice within a few weeks of a spike. So we had a little spike last week. We would look to see a spike in the near future, which would be closer to a fade or a buy zone. The S&P Composite 1500 Index also moving sideways. This is the composite of the S&P 500, the small cap 600, and the mid cap 400. Note that the cumulative breadth, advancing minus declining stocks divided by the total, is moving sideways above a ascending 20-period moving average. And the up-down volume percent, which favors large cap as a percentage of volume, is moving sideways at a double top. So that could mean a number of things. How I'm viewing it is the rotation that is evident in financials and the banking sector, as well as SMH. As long as that continues to show positive returns, I am in the camp that this could move sideways to choppy. A more bullish view would be that XLF and the banking sectors and technology will continue to move higher, and we could move sideways and then break higher. And with respect to the carry trade, we've been moving sideways for several weeks now, so we don't have a indicator here. If we moved higher, that would be bullish for stocks, and if we move lower, that's bearish for stocks. Okay, so let's take a look at some stocks. We spent enough time on the indices, so let's take a look at what we're thinking about trading this week. Remember, we're thinking bullish in the sectors that show up in consolidation patterns like we see here with energy, industrials, and technology that's showing up in numbers. This scan picks up stocks that have moved off of recent highs. Volatility is dropping. Bollinger Bands are moving within the Kelton channel, and the stocks in this scan are entering their quiet period, which would be a good area to buy low volatility and expect a breakout, or what's known as a TTM squeeze. I post these scans every day. You can check my blog out. Last Sunday we had an abundance of utility stocks showing up. We traded those and then have since exited because we started to see sector performance changing. The red is financials, the orange is utilities, and this is healthcare. You can see this was Wednesday close, and by Thursday morning we saw a really large increase in XLB, materials, technology, financials, and these other sectors we're seeing rotation out of stocks. So that's what this scan picks up, the change in rotation and leadership. In the case of this weekend scan, I have enabled a filter that shows an increase or a bullish tendency in the MACD histogram. So these only show up as stocks that are starting to move in the direction, in a bullish direction. Now if we look at these in a candle glance format, we can pick out stocks that are yet to break out and are in good setups. 3M, let's take a look at that. Note the increased volume here. Moving sideways in a quiet period, it's above the Kirby level. Note the increased volume on Friday, which is a bullish sign, considering the indices were down on weakness in the biotech sector. So this is one that we'll be looking at. Note the crossover in the MACD, having moved in sideways for a week or so during, again, this quiet period inside the Bollinger Bands. I believe Mikey pointed this out to me on Thursday or Friday. The energy stocks, we noted a number of these that were on the scan previously. Cimarex Energy, Canadian Natural Resources, we posted on Friday morning. Nice sideways range, narrow Bollinger Bands. MACD is cooperating, turning. This looks like a great setup going into the week. Note the increased volume over the past few months. Accumulation, moving sideways, consolidation. We would look for this range breakout to give us a signal which direction to trade. Obviously, if we break out to the upside, we would be bullish, and if we broke down, we would be bearish. But with energy showing up in mass, I'm tending to think that the rotation is into energy, SMH, the semis, and the financials. Comstock Resources, CRK, we pointed this one out before the breakout. We see Bollinger Bands expanding now and breaking above this level. This is what we're looking for in terms of Canadian Natural Resources. MACD has fully turned and giving us a bullish cross, and note the volume. Console Energy, CNX, above a large Kirby bar that would function as support, but note that we're at the upper Bollinger Band. We had a little bit of a spinning top here, and MACD has been moving sideways but is drifting higher on higher volume as well. Note all of these energy stocks have higher volume, and MACD either crossing or getting ready to cross. Let's take a look at Devon Energy. Nice cup and handle pattern. While not my favorite chart, it's exhibiting some of the same criteria. MACD is turning. We're starting to see an increase in volume. We have relative strength on a sell-off on the S&P 500. but a rotation into energy again, SMH and XLF. Let's look at Hess and Marathon Oil. Note the volume on Friday. There's sideways trend line here, trying to break above with narrow Bollinger Bands. So we're in a quiet period, low volatility. So if you trade options, this is where you want to be when volatility is low, not when it's high, like it is here. You'll be paying higher premiums. Note the increase in volume, and MACD has turned back up on Hess. Marathon, interesting chart, downtrend. We changed trends. We put in a higher low, and now it looks like we're going to try to put in a higher high. Increased volume on Friday, 2 weeks Fridays, and MACD turning up. Nucor, note the steel stocks were looking pretty good last week. AKX and US Steel we pointed out on Friday. This one's breaking above these recent highs, testing that level. We're above the 50 period moving average, which is the green area, and MACD is turning up and turned positive on Friday. So Nucor is looking pretty good as well. Let's take a look at X. As we pointed out, we broke above this trend line in this descending channel. MACD, look at the Bollinger Bands are breaking out here. Not nice volume last week, and a MACD cross as well. AKS, which JCOM trades a lot. We pointed out this pattern that was pretty much exhausting our patience, but we broke out of this level after being on the scan for a number of weeks. Now we have a MACD cross, and this is looking very positive with follow through on momentum. This should see recent highs at 847. Not a guarantee, but that's what I'm anticipating. Being we had a nice run up, a consolidation, which is what you want to see. Weak hands get shaken out, but accumulation continues with fund managers that see bullish tendencies in the building sector and global growth increasing, as Yukarwitz pointed out on his blog site. If you want to check him out, this is his site. Note the address here. I'll put the link in the comments section below. Yukarwitz has a great read every week in his weekly market summary. Do yourself a favor and subscribe or follow his site and his blog posts, because he posts invaluable information during the week on Twitter and also on a weekly basis on his blog. Rose, we pointed out midweek, but it showed up on the scan, had a nice breakout of a descending pattern, got back above this Kirby level here, and now we have no resisting volume to speak of, so prices should continue to grind higher. Bollinger Bands are breaking out, so you'll get a TTM signal if you don't already on higher volume, and MACD is continuing to drift higher. So these are all the criteria that this scan picks up, and something that you can use as a strategy. We do, and we've seen really good results with same Spectra Energy. Nice little flag pattern here after moving sideways out of this range and breaking out of same. MACD has yet to turn yet, so I'd look for this to turn a little bit more before I took this as a trade. But note the increased volume, so there is interest. If you look at the volume that's traded on this stock over the last few months as a whole. WTI, we looked at, that was part of the scan last week. I didn't take my own advice, completely missed this trade. We had a trend line across here, we had this MACD, or excuse me, we had this Kirby level that we were trading into, and look at the Bollinger Bands breaking out now. We noted the volume, and we just got sidetracked on banking trades, bounces on Bank of America and Wells Fargo and so forth, that we missed this completely. But it's continuing higher. I would look for a flag somewhere around here or a pullback, because we are outside the upper Bollinger Bands now and touching the standard deviation 3 upper band. So I would look for a pullback for an entry, but this is looking very bullish going into the next month. WPX, note the spike in volume here. Let's take a look at that. Well, we had 38 million shares trade on Friday. So something is up with this stock. I don't know if that's short covering. We can check that out later. But we have a Kirby level here to deal with. And we are breaking above these levels, back above the 50-period moving average, which is the green shaded area. RSI is drifting higher, and MACD is crossed and moving higher as well. So not a trade that I would take here, obviously, but the volume is very interesting. Okay, so that was Friday's closing scan. Let's take a look at Thursday night scan on the 20th. If we look at the stocks that did well in that scan, remember we mentioned WNT Offshore, Rose, Exelon, US Steel. All of these names showed up in Thursday's scan as well. So if you had taken these on Thursday, Friday morning, you'd be sitting pretty currently. Halliburton is a trade we took on Friday. Out of this nice cup and handle breakout, we did punch out of the upper Bollinger Band, so we took a little bit off there, but the volume was very significant, so we're continuing to see a move higher on this continuation pattern, a cup and handle. Some names on the scan that didn't do so well. Huntsman, we saw a specialty chemical company that we saw this ascending triangle pattern. We thought this might move higher up to the upper trend line and double top highs, but that didn't occur. So we're watching this one. Ashland was the other specialty chemical company that we were looking at. This did break above that ascending triangle on increased MACD. Okay, so this is what the scan picks up. You want to check out my blog, you can subscribe here and get this information on a daily basis. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from closingprint.com. Also come check out GTO's site, Day Trader Bootcamp, where you can meet some of the traders in the room. 23rd of March, Sunday, with a watch list and a look at the week ahead. Take care. I hope this helps, and we will see you in the room on Monday.